Hello class, how's everybody doing this morning? Tim Carey. Today we're going to talk about the power theorists. Very important. Definitely going to be on your first exam, so pay close attention to what I have to talk about in terms of where power lies in the political system. So the first theory that slide that appears is the elite theory. And C. Wright Mills is the one who came up with this theory of the elite being the business elite and the military kind of working together in controlling society. That the people in the system have very little power. Your normal everyday people have very little power. So the strings are kind of pulled back and forth by this power elite that Mills writes about. And so let's talk about it for a second. I'm going to read from the PowerPoint and then kind of expand. So C. Wright Mills believed that the elite business and military pulled the strings and that citizens had no real voice. This was seen as a conspiracy theory. But according to other theorists, they acknowledged that military and business do have more power in the system. The power elite control society as they control the distribution of wealth by controlling the tax structure that favor the wealthy. So let's kind of break it down a little bit. As we'll see later on in another theory that is brought up, it is clear that the business does sometimes, business has a privileged seat at the table. And we want to keep our business owners happy in a capitalist society. We want to keep them selling goods. We want to keep them employing people. But the question is, do they have this power? Me and one of my faculty members many years ago kind of argued this, but I'm going to kind of side with what I believe is the best example of this. And it was something that was discussed by Dwight David Eisenhower when he was president. President Eisenhower, one of his final speeches as president was about the military-industrial complex. If you ever get a chance to watch a speech, I think it is one of the most powerful speeches. Here's a general, a former general, a military hero, as president, telling us, be careful. You don't want the business community, this industrial area, forcing us into wars so that they make profits. If for example, you'll see an increase in spending as we did with the Middle East conflicts, Afghanistan and Iraq. We've seen a huge increase in our spending, our military spending, and this was production of planes, production of military weapons that were, being spent. You had companies who had to provide services to the military, and they're getting government contracts. So these government contracts going into play increased, so for some, not to say, not in any way, shape, or form saying that this is accurate. So please keep that in mind. But if you look at it from that conspiracy theorist standpoint, wow, if we go to war, a lot of these companies are getting huge government contracts, and government is going to pay you. We know that the U.S. government is going to pay Halliburton, and they're going to pay Boeing, and they're going to pay billions of dollars. Millions on top of billions of dollars for these types of services. So is it beneficial for them to have kind of control of what's going on in society? It's an interesting theory by Mills. But then we get into, a really interesting one with Dahl, and this is one that I always kind of agree with. And it's very, very interesting, is Dahl kind of says, wait a second, Mills, you make a point, but look under the hood. Where is this? Where is this conspiracy? Where's this elite group at that's controlling everything? I mean, are they meeting in a hidden room somewhere? Twisting their mustaches and making these decisions. So what he went and did is he looked at. He wrote a book called Who Governs, and it was a look at New Haven, Connecticut politics, and he looked at three areas specifically: education, redevelopment, and the Democratic nominations. Dahl was critical of Mills. He believed if you looked under the hood, does it exist? He broke power down into two areas: direct and indirect. Direct is the leaders, they have the power. They're the ones making the decisions, okay? They make the laws. They change the policies. So there's direct, all right? You elect Joe to the school board. Joe goes in. Joe, works with his colleagues, and they make a change that says you have to wear school uniforms. So they're the ones with the power. The indirect power are those people who are electing them, okay? So this is important. This is key. So the indirect power is you elect an official. In Dole's theory, that official has the most power because they're the one making the rules, making the policies. But then, this is important, there's the slack resources that are involved. This is the idea that citizens, all right, do not pay attention to every issue. I'll be the first to tell you, I do not pay attention to every issue in my local community, in my state. I don't pay attention to every single law that's been produced, ordinance that do not affect me on a day-to-day basis. I don't drink soda, so I don't drink soda. So am I worried about the soda tax? Probably not. It's I'm a Philadelphian. Is it something that at night I'm losing sleep over? No. But just the other day, one of our city council people decided to say, okay, well, wait, hold off on the soda tax. How about we raise property tax? Wait a second. Now I'm a little concerned because that's going to directly affect me. All right, so now, I'll write letters to that council person and say, hey, listen, we can't keep taxing our way out of situations. That's just me personally. But you understand what I'm saying here? Do you get it? That that I don't pay attention to the soda tax. It's in the news constantly. It's one of those things like, yeah, soda tax. Okay. I don't drink soda. It's not going to affect me. I don't have any family members who work for the soda industry. It's, again, not a big deal. The cigarette tax is a bigger deal to me in Philadelphia because my mom's a smoker. And hopefully, and I hope that, by implementing that tax, it stops her from smoking. Has it? Probably not. But, looking at the property tax increase, I'm nervous now. So now you've woken me up. Leaders live in fear of doing something against what the vast majority of voters will get upset about and vote them out of office. What is your goal as a politician? To get reelected, right? Let's cut through the chase. I'm one of those people that say, one day I'll run for office, and when I run, I will sacrifice myself in the sense of not get reelected for the good of my community. If people don't like that I did something that I think is in the best interest, I'll fall on my sword. Most people aren't like that. They want their job. They want to continue in your job. Most of the politicians that I meet or have met, they just want to keep their voters happy, keep them calm, do what's in the best interest for them, and keep themselves reelected. All right, so that's slack resources. I think a pretty good example of it. So he believed that everyone had power. This is Dahl had. Everyone had some power at different times. So you had the indirect power and you had the direct power. Power he defined as during major decisions. A can get B to do something that B would not normally do, or would not otherwise do. So think about that. Really simple. If I can get Joe, who's totally against the soda tax, to vote for the soda tax, because that would benefit me, keep my voters happy because I'm not increasing their property tax. In his area, it's they don't care if they increase the property tax. Maybe he has a lot of apartment complexes. Maybe he has a lot of renters that it won't affect too much who are voting for him. Whereas in my area, most of the homes are owned. Just an example. And I can say, okay, well, in the future, I will give into a vote on the gun rights in your area. You want stricter gun rules. Typically that's not a big issue in my area. I don't think it's going to wake anybody up. So I'll negotiate with you. Give me this vote, I'll give you my vote, so I can get you to do something that you otherwise would not do. All right, so that's important to keep in mind. So there was problems found with Dahl's theory, and that is, how do you study major decisions? What would you categorize as a major decision? Is the soda tax a major decision? Is increasing property tax a major decision? Is, gun laws, school-free gun zones, you have to define that. And that's really challenging. Okay, so, at the school board, going to school uniforms, is that a major decision? It's difficult to define what a major decision is when you're in the political arena. So then we get to Bacharach and Baratz. Believe that those with power received what they wanted and kept what others wanted off of the agenda. So there's an agenda. This is the things that we're going to discuss. These are the things we're going to vote on. So he talks about power, all right, in the pluralism. So his pluralism theory, their pluralism theory, suggests that power is displayed when you can set someone to do something they otherwise would not do. But just as powerful is if you can get A, if A does not let B on the agenda. Okay, so non-decision. Right, so I can keep the soda tax off of the agenda. I can keep pushing that off. We're not going to vote on it. We're not going to vote on it. Filibustering. All right, it's on the agenda, yes, but I can keep talking and talking until time runs out, and then we don't even have to vote on it. All right, I can alleviate that. So when we look at the pluralism standpoint, it is power is displayed when A does not let B on the agenda. All right, what's the problem here? How do you study non-decisions? All right, how do you look at, okay, what was that supposed to be on the agenda? Is that something that is important to this community? That's a difficult thing to study, but it is power. I mean, if you could keep somebody off of the agenda, if you can, just like, with all, if you can get somebody to do something they otherwise wouldn't do, those are both power, so you have to kind of combine everything here when you're discussing it. And then we get into structuralists, Limburg, economic theory. This gets back to the elite theory. We cannot forget the power of the business community. The government will give businesses a privileged position at the table. This isn't talking about the military and business or working together. This is just business as a whole. Business owners, large corporations have a privileged seat at the table. All right. During the democratic process, the nomination process, the campaigns, there's been a lot of discussion about Wall Street. And, Senator Sanders talks often about, we have we can't have another candidate who is a favorite to Wall Street. That's business. That's major business in America. So that's a driving influence. And Secretary Clinton, on the other hand, said, we got to regulate, but there's still a major portion of the American society and the American economy, and we have to work together. So as you will see, that's a good position on structuralist Lynn Bloom's theory on economic, on businesses' privileged seat at the table. Then Stephen Lukes gets into, wait a second now, making a group believe that your interests are tied to my interests, even if they are not, is power. Okay, if I can come in and say to a very low economic area, if I could walk into a very a very depressed area and say, whoa, wait a second, listen, we got to raise taxes, or no, I'm sorry, we have to cut benefits. Oh well, 50% of the people in this area are on some sort of public assistance, but it's in your best interest if I cut your benefits. In the future, we're going to have to cut it because people in these other areas are just taking full advantage of it. Oh, okay, well, yeah, I'll vote for you still, even though it's going to affect me and affect the amount of money I'm making or able to get on a monthly basis. Oh, wait, 75% of this area is at the minimum wage or working for minimum wage, which is $25. Oh, wait a second, these politicians want to raise it to $15. That's way too much. We should keep it at $7.25. It's a struggle, but it's better for us, if we keep it there. Getting those people to say, yeah, I agree. I don't, we don't want it. It was a funny skit a while ago that I saw way back when they were talking about John McCain, when he was running for president, would talk to these low-income areas. At these low-income areas where a vast majority of his crowd was at or below the federal poverty guidelines, and he would yell and scream that then Senator Obama, he wants to redistribute the wealth. He wants to redistribute the wealth, and these people would cheer. Yeah, we don't want it. Keep it. You guys keep it. That goes directly to Luke's theory here. Which is, basically when you make people believe that your interests are tied to their interests when they're really not. Okay, so I think that's an easy way to kind of talk about it. So that's 15 minutes on the power theorists. Very, very, very important. Definitely going to be on your test. So take a minute, watch this. Hope all's well. Something I wanted to kind of address. I got a few emails that in the past year, faculty members would post things, assignments over the weekend. I usually post in the middle of the week. That's just, something that I do. In the future, if that works better for you all, I can do that. I usually grade over the weekends, post in the middle of the week, give you a full week to do the work. Hopefully it's not overwhelming at all. If you do find it overwhelming, please do not hesitate to call me. All right, so if you have any questions, or email me. Email is much better. Again, during the week, tjcarey@mail.edu, at mail.widener.edu, I'm sorry. And for weekends, usually Timmy352000 at Yahoo. I usually check that more over the weekend. So if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. Sorry for getting tongue-tied a few times. I'm live here, so there's no studio. There is a studio audience in the background. Any questions, concerns, please feel free to give me a call. All right, thanks. Bye-bye.